I do factor in like how many games the guy played.
Right.
If a guy plays great basketball, but he missed 30 games and he played 52, like I'm not comfortable with that person being the MVP of the league. I think you need a greater degree of participation. But what is that number? And I think when you leave that to somebody just voting an MVP resume or an All-NBA resume, they can factor that in their own way. But when you just put 65, here's the number, high or dry, it creates a lot of issues. And again, the way the league's contracts are set, that's the other problem.
It's
and
when
you make a rule, it's one thing to say, like, if there was no money attached to being All-NBA first, second, or third team, if it was simply an honor, this is almost an irrelevant point.
Oh, 100%.
Like, hey, it is what it is. Oh, sorry, you didn't play enough games. You're not going to be first or third team. But the way the contracts are structured, and the league knew it when they're making the rule, now money could be lost.
There is a big thing going on, a big conversation about this 65-game threshold.
Yeah.
All right? So Tyrese Halliburton, he came out and said, it's a stupid rule. And of course, if you don't know, if Halliburton misses 3 more games, he will lose out on roughly about $41 million, because Tyrese is almost a shoo-in to make one of the All-NBA teams with the season he's having and things like that. His argument can be made he's the best point guard in the league right now. All right, at least top 3, which all you would need to be to make an All-NBA team. All right, and he's been battling the same injury here, and in the past. Kinsley saying shout out to Coach Pink. What's up, Kinsley?
Yes, sir. Appreciate you watching.
Now, in the past, that wasn't an issue. Now, here's what I think. I just think it was an overcorrection. I'm not, and I'm a fan of the 76ers, and Embiid is going to suffer from this rule as well. I'm not all the way out. I'm not mad. I'm not pissed they made this rule. They were trying to fix players sitting out, sitting out with injuries that they could play with. The Kawhi Leonards of the world, the Anthony Davises of the world. You get nicked up and you just want to wait till you're 100% to play. That's what they were trying to fix.
And the rest.
The resting.
Where you're not actually hurt. You may be a little run down and you're sit out the second part of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
I mean, the NBA is a product. And, I went to a game a couple weeks ago. I went to see the Magic play the Minnesota Timberwolves. Mm-hmm. I did that because I specifically wanted to see Anthony Edwards play.
That's your boy.
And that's my guy. And he played like crap, but at least he played.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, a lot of fans do that. They okay, I live in Indiana. Like, I can maybe afford to go to 2 games this year. Who do I want to see the Pacers play against? Well, maybe LeBron would be great, or maybe I'm a big Jimmy Butler guy, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you buy that ticket, and you go to that game, and that main guy sits out with, no real injury. That's not good for the business of basketball.
You're going to feel screwed.
And so you're going to feel screwed. You're going to, whatever. And that's what they were trying to do. But again, at the end of the day, the 65 is kind of like an arbitrary number. And, maybe it shouldn't be connected to the awards necessarily, because I've always felt, and I've always I don't have a vote, but when I'm considering an MVP or this or that, I do factor in like how many games the guy played.
Right.
If a guy plays great basketball, but he missed 30 games and he played 52, like I'm not comfortable with that person being the MVP of the league. I think you need a greater degree of participation. But what is that number? And I think when you leave that to somebody just voting an MVP resume or an All-NBA resume, they can factor that in their own way. But when you just put 65, here's the number, high or dry, it creates a lot of issues. And again, the way the league's contracts are set, that's the other problem.
It's
and when you make a rule, it's one thing to say, like, if there was no money attached to being All-NBA first, second, or third team, if it was simply an honor, this is almost an irrelevant point.
Oh, 100%.
Like, hey, it is what it is. Oh, sorry, you didn't play enough games. You're not going to be first or third team. But the way the contracts are structured, and the league knew it when they're making the rule, now money could be lost. and that you may not be able to get that back.
No, you're not.
And that's crazy to me, that you put this situation. That's tough. I mean, I would probably, to be honest, I'd probably feel more comfortable with a game minimum for the MVP itself, which I don't think has contractual ties to it. But
there
I
could
know
be
the
incentives.
All-NBA
There could be
there could be individualized incentives.
individual.
But there are like the All NBA stuff, like that's literally built
for
into
anybody
the
and
contracts.
everybody. Yeah.
For anybody and everybody. And I think that that's massively significant. And I think that this rule really is at odds with that.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to last at all. When the next collective agreement is up or whatever, the players are just they're going to vote this out. And if they have to, if we maybe a lockout, I don't know how strong the league is on this.
The NBA generally has been pretty forward thinking, and I would hope that they would get to this situation, review it, and maybe repeal it by next season without us having to have a lockout or a strike or something crazy over this rule. It's just not that important a rule. It should be revised and tailored to better accommodate the contractual environment. Or maybe in next CBA you don't attach these extra contractual things to that. You structure the deals another way.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And and like I said, some of the other guys that are going to be, you have Joel Embiid who got injured again last night against the Warriors. A guy just fucking fell right on his leg. Why is just
a guy?
Huh?
It was Draymond.
No, it wasn't Draymond.
I thought it was Draymond.
Not that fell on his leg. No, it wasn't Draymond.
Oh.
It wasn't Draymond. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But in any event, I would be pissed if it was Draymond. I was watching the game. I would have caught that. But anyhow, he's not going to make it. I don't think he's going to make it. He only missed 5 more games. He's already been ruled out for next game. Tyrese, and there are quite a few others as well, man.
Yeah.
But like Kenzie said, I think it's a useful rule to prevent lazy load management, but they should also allow amendments to the contracts that have those type of incentives.
Correct. I agree with that. They got to find a common ground where you properly incentivize players for playing and not sitting out without legitimate injury, but you don't punish guys contractually when they are actually hurt. Halliburton's been out for a while and legitimate injury by all accounts. Nobody's calling foul on that. So they got to revise it. They got to revise it and look at it.
Yeah. LeBron has he had that tweet. You've been big about LeBron, passive aggressive LeBron.
Yes.
And after their big loss meaning
Chris said it was
Kuminga.
Okay.
Yeah, Kuminga. There you go.
Who's playing great basketball
Lately.
Yeah, he's really turned on the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and it's good for the Warriors. It's good for him. He was critical of his role, and I always respect this. Like, he voiced some unhappiness, but then he started playing great.
They gave him more time.
Yeah, and he's doing something with it.
Cashing in with the more time.
I respect the hell out of that. It's one thing when you complain about a circumstance, minutes, role, whatever, and you don't make the impact on the floor. But when you call that stuff out and you deliver the goods in the game, I'm all for that. So respect to Kuminga.
No, 100%. I still think the Warriors need to make a move, but we'll see if that comes up by the trade deadline. All right, and as I was saying, another team that's definitely going to make a move. The Lakers and LeBron, he just put the time emoji there, as if time is running out or something. And whenever he does these things, I really wonder what the other players, because he's sending that tweet out like right after the game, maybe an hour after the game.
Yeah.
Whatever. These guys are on the bus, on a plane. They're together.
It's a road game. If they're home, they're probably at their leaving or whatever at their own house.
Yeah, it's still I'm whatever, but whatever the case may be, even if he's not with the team, whatever, but he has to see those guys within the next few hours anywhere it goes. Right?
Yeah.
That next day, I wonder what those guys are thinking, because and it's such a cryptic tweet. All he did was put the time is running out emoji.
Right.
But everyone knows what that means. Time is running out, but for who? For the coach, for him, for these players. They need to make a move. They're talking about the most realistic trade for them and what they contacted Brooklyn for 3 players. For Spencer Dinwiddie, and for two of those forwards over there. And so that means about three of your guys have to go out,
Right.
have to head out. It's not like they have a ton of picks they can offer. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the Lakers are done. LeBron and AD have played probably the most games they've played in the last 3 seasons or so.
Yeah, they've consistently played.
This
is just a bad basketball team.
Yeah.
That's what they are. I mean, they've been bad since they left the bubble. And we keep trying to pretend that they're a move away or this or that away, and they're not. They're just a bad fucking team. And we should stop paying attention to them. And, to me, though, I've long believed it's very difficult to play with LeBron because he will do the passive-aggressive stuff. And you can't tell me that every Laker in the organization wasn't asked about what that meant or what they thought that meant the next day.
Yeah.
Like, they come in and any interaction with the media, hey, did you see LeBron's tweet? And you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
He is like his own universe. And it's not easy to function in that environment where something as simple as a tweet suddenly becomes the biggest story of the Laker day. And you're just like, whatever. You're just a random player in the roster trying to play. And, it opens the door, who's going to go, this, that, and the other thing. And it creates an environment where, those guys, there's no trust in that locker room. There's none. Because everybody there is am I the piece that's going to move? What's going on? And until that's resolved, until you get to the trade deadline, and this is the cost of, doing things the way that LeBron does it. You create this unsettled and bothered situation. They're not going to play well until after the trade deadline. Whether they keep as they are or not, he's created a toxic environment where there's distrust, uncertainty, and nobody's able to play, to their fullest.
Right.
And then, okay, if they actually do make some moves, then they have a window of time after those moves or after the trade deadline, if they stand pat, to say, hey, look around the room. This is who we are. We got to make the run or whatever we're going to do with this group. Let's go.
Yeah.
But you basically create a window until the trade deadline where everyone's going to be kind of, distrustful and disinterested and not bought in.
Yeah. Now, a lot of those times, it works. It works for LeBron-led teams. The one I remember that was a disaster was the Cleveland team when they brought in Isaiah and all of those guys,
But they did that in the offseason, and then didn't they made some trade deadline moves.
That in season,
that kind of reinvigorated the group for another finals run.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think, for the most part, it does make a difference when they do those big changes, moving Westbrook out and things like that, improve the team.
Well, the funny thing is, it's if you really step back and look at it, because he soils the bed right now, you can't help but play better after the All-Star break, whether you make moves or not, because the environment is so negative right now. He's not bought in. He's going through the motions. Everyone on the team's looking at each other going, who's going to be here after the deadline and who's not? So things are almost at an unnaturally low place.
Yeah.
And so whether you don't make any moves or you do make some moves, even if they're not great moves, you kind of get a restart after the All-Star break. Hey, here, this is what we are after the deadline, and let's go. Let's do what we do. LeBron will turn it on for a couple weeks, and that's the thing. I mean, there's a part of LeBron's late career that's just utterly sickening. That's how I feel about it. We can marvel at the individual.
I was going to say he puts up numbers, but it's not enjoyable to watch for the most part.
No.
But it is impressive, the numbers he's able to put up, and from game to game. For example, that Golden State Warriors game was very impressive to watch. It was enjoyable to watch. He took it to Steph Curry and the Warriors, but from game to game, when you step back and take a larger part of the season, it's not enjoyable to watch LeBron out there.